let me paint a picture for you. The Crystal Hollows was just released, and it's quite a confusing update. In today's video, I'm going to give you a little bit of a guide on how to do stuff in the Crystal Hollows. To start off, you're going to notice Gwendolyn. This is how you enter the Crystal Hollows. Right-click on Gwendolyn. For $10,000, you can get a pass for 2 hours. What this means is that when 2 hours are up, you will be transported back to the Dwarven Mines, and you'll have to buy another pass. Another thing that's quite confusing about the update is breaking power. Each block has its own breaking power. Titanium, mithril, dwarven gold, hardstone, etc. The new blocks are kind of the more interesting ones. Ruby has a breaking powder of 6. A lot of base pickaxes in the Dwarven Mines update will not have had this breaking power, so you kind of have a few options. But there's some different breaking powers all the way up to Jasper, which is breaking power 9, and Topaz, which is breaking power 8. So if you want to be able to break these stones, you have, or gems, you have a few different ways to do that. Picopolis is probably what I'd recommend for a new player. With a 150% mining speed and breaking power of 7, this will allow you to mine most blocks in the Crystal Hollows. However, it does have a only 5,000 usage. Another option would be a titanium pickaxe can break the earlier crystals, mainly just ruby. Ruby, though, however, is used for a ruby drill, which will satisfy most of your issues. Ruby drill has, well, this is the gemstone drill, but the ruby drill has a breaking power of 7. So a permanent 7 with a gemstone mining speed and a gemstone mining fortune, which is quite a nice actual boost in comparison to, like, Picopolis, which you have to replace. Another new thing is Lumina. Lumina just gives you torches. I'd recommend just changing your gamma. I mean, if you want the experience, there is a lantern, which places places torches from converting coal in your inventory, and an infinite torch. Next, Geo. Geo allows you to put items on a piece of armor. For example, if I put Shadow Assassin in here, I already have a gem on this, find Amethyst. This will allow you to put gems on most armors. Some armors do not have the same amount of slots as others, and some only have particular slots. So that is something you have to look into. Next, going on to gemstones themselves. There is 7 different types of gemstones. Amber, which gives mining speed. Amethyst gives defense. Jade gives mining fortune. Jasper gives strength. Ruby gives health. Sapphire gives intelligence. And Topaz gives Pristine. Pristine is also a new statistic that was just added in this update. Pristine is a chance to give you a higher tier of your gemstone when you mine it. So, for example, you normally get rough gemstones, but you'll be able to get flawed, which is considerable, saying as it's the same crafting recipe as most things in Hypixel, where it's the 80 to make 1. But that allows you to pretty much quicker obtain the gemstones that you'll need. Next, let's talk about the collections. There's 2 new collections added in this update, Hardstone and Gemstone. We'll first cover Hardstone. Hardstone is the new block that's just looks exactly the same as stone that you find in the Crystal Hollows. It actually does have a good armor set with the heat chestplate, especially very good if you're doing early game and you're mining in the magma fields, as the heat from the magma fields, this reduces it by half, or we can survive twice as much. The next big thing is the Flamebreaker armor. We'll cover on the Forge one in a minute here. Flamebreaker reduces the heat by 5 times, or allows you to have 5 times more, 5 times longer. Strelix is a item that allows you to just pretty much put infinite, I believe, efficiency on your tools. I have seen it go up to 10, whether it's purely infinite, I do not know. The other thing here is the Hot Stuff Reforge. This is a reforged stone that goes on pickaxes or drills, and it increases the mining speed of your tool based on how far you are in the world. This is quite powerful when you're mining down below, but pretty much overall isn't that amazing. The next new collection is Gemstone. Gemstone's first one is a small gemstone stack with a 128,000 capacity. This is pretty much all you're going to need for the entire update. The capacity of this is more than pretty much anyone's ever going to use. The next you unlock is the flawed version of each of the gemstones. The next is the medium, which has 512,000 per gemstone type. You're rarely going to ever need that much unless you're grinding for hours on end. And even then, if you're just compressing your gemstones, you're never going to have that issue. Next, we have the fine variants of the gemstones. Next, we have the Ring of Power. Ring of Power is interesting. It's a talisman that you can put gemstones on, and it'll have the effects, half of the effects of each gemstone. So right now I only have ruby on it. You can put an amber gemstone on it as well, and it'll be given half of the effects. So normally a flawed ruby gemstone gives you 2 health. This gives you 1. So that is a little bit of an extra bonus, as well as just being a normal talisman. Next in the collection, we have the Power Scrolls. These are quite interesting. They can be applied to any item with a right-click ability. However, this is a little bit misleading. Hyperions and items with I think they're considered temporary, even though you cannot remove them, abilities, do not work. So for example, Hyperion, you cannot put any scrolls on Hyperion. Whether this is a glitch, or a bug, I rather hope so, because that seems really counterintuitive. But you cannot put that on a Hyperion. However, you can put it on stuff like an Aspect of the End, or an Aspect of the Void. The first one that we have here is the Ruby Power Scroll. Gives you 1% of your missing health when you right-click your item ability. Has a 5-second cooldown. There's been a little bit of a misconception here. This is not 1% of your health. This is 1% of your missing health, which is a lot less OP than it would be if it was all of your health. The next one is a Sapphire Power Scroll. It just gives you a flat +5 mana when using the right-click ability. This can make an item cost technically 5 less mana, because you're gaining 5 mana when you use it. So that's pretty good for like an Aspect of the End. It can reduce the cost even more. Sapphire Power Scroll, gain 10 strength for 5 seconds when using your item ability. This probably would be good for like maybe a Flower of Truth or something similar. Defense, it's the same thing. These all just give abilities. Amber, though, is the only one that isn't kind of... It's a little bit different. It just gives you +30 mining speed for 5 seconds when you use the ability. However, I believe this does count for the Dwarven Mines abilities that you unlock through Heart of the Mountain. So this means you can even get extra mining speed when you're using your mining speed bonus. Next, we go to the Pristine Enchant. The Pristine Enchant gives 1 Pristine, and it goes up to 5. It is crafted using 40 fine topaz, and it can be combined up to level 5 just the same way. Next, we have the Flawless variants of all the gems. Pretty simple. Next, we have quite a bit, actually, here. Artifact of Power. This is just a much more powerful artifact / accessory from the base talisman. It allows you to pretty much get a lot more extra buffs on it. Plus, being a rare accessory, you can do a lot with that. The next, we're covering the perfect ruby and perfect of every single type. Finally, you have the wonderful thing that goes off my screen, the Gemstone Gauntlet. This is fucking trash. This is completely worthless. Its mining speed's really not what it says it is, and while it looks cool, it doesn't get any buffs. When you put all perfect gemstones in it, it changes its model. It doesn't really do much. A few people tested this. It is actually slower than a titanium drill, despite should be much faster by just its base mining speed. And it says it can be used as a pickaxe and a sword, but with 35 base damage and no buffs, it's pretty much useless as a sword. To go to the Crystal Hollows, you talk to Gwendolyn, and if you have a pass, it will spawn a minecart. You next go on the minecart, and it'll show you on a little ride. The first time you do this, there'll be quite a long animation going all the way there, pretty much through a very long minecart ride, but once you've done it the first time, you can skip it. Once you've done that, you will be entered into one of 4 zones. Jungle, Mithril Deposits, Goblin Holdout, and the Precursor Remnants. Each of these areas has different things to do. First, what you should do is look at your Heart of the Mountain. There is a new section here called the Crystal Hollows Crystals. Crystals, you can unlock the Crystal Nucleus. The crystals that you need are Jade, Amber, Amethyst, Sapphire, and Topaz. Jasper and Ruby, I don't fully know the purpose of them at all. So, the first thing is Amethyst. Amethyst can be found in the jungle. You have to find the Jungle Temple. And to get to the Jungle Temple, you kind of just have to search around, because the Crystal Mines has an interesting little mechanic. There is no set area. There is no set coordinates for anything. You know what area they spawn in. For example, the Jungle Temple cannot spawn in the Goblin Holdout. However, they're never spawning in the exact same spot. To do the To do the temple, you need to first find a temple key, which either has one of two ways to get. First of all, you can buy it from the auction. Well, technically 3 ways. You can buy it from the auction, as most items on Hypixel. They go for about 44k, sometimes a little bit more. The second option is if you find a key guardian. Key guardians will have a they have a guaranteed chance of dropping a key when you kill them. Second option is if you find there is a shaman that sells the key. So you have to find a key of one of these 3 ways, and next you have to make your way over to the jungle temple. Occasionally you might see a message in chat that says, you can hear mighty rumbles and explosions in the distance. Well, this means that your Crystal Hollows instance or server is about to restart. Pretty much don't do anything important at this point in time, as you will be teleported out of whatever area you're doing, and you will be teleported back to the entrance. You will then have to re-enter. If you want to leave the Crystal Hollows, you have a few ways to do that. You can type /hub, or you can type /warp forge to go to the forge of the Dwarven Mines, or you can use your fast travel. The other way to do that is click the exit Crystal Mines area. This will allow you to get teleported right outside of the Crystal Mines entrance to Gwendolyn. You can also enter the same way that you left. There's a few things to do. The Mines of Dvalin give you a metal detector, and you are trying to get certain items by detecting them. They will show up on the bottom of your screen, like how close you are to them. I'll show a clip here. The other thing to do here is kill the wonderful knockoff Team Rocket, or as they're called on Hypixel, Team Treasurite. They spawn, be blunt, Pokemon by throwing a Pokeball at you, and these creatures then attack you. You kill them, and you can get gemstones of many different types. The other thing to do here is look for their boss. Boss Chlorone is used for a few things. It has a special drop that can be used in certain recipes. It also is useful for the Crystal Mines commissions. If you make your way to 500, you'll be greeted with the Crystal Nucleus. This is the main central area of the Crystal Hollows. It is also the one area that has consistent quartz. It will always be around 500. Once you're here, you can do a number of things. If you've collected all the crystals, you can spawn them on these podiums and claim your rewards. The other things to do here is there's a drill mechanic, and there is a new NPC for commissions. In the Crystal Hollows, there's new types of commissions. For example, slay 13 Treasurite members. Some other ones include find a Jade Crystal, which this is the main big Jade Crystal, not just a normal Jade Gemstone. Ruby Gemstone Collector, pretty much any Gemstone Collector, kill boss Kolrez. They have quite a few actual new commissions that have been added in this update. Instead of giving Mithril Powder, however, these commissions give Gemstone Powder, which is useful for high-end Heart of the Mountain. The other purpose of the Crystal Nucleus is to give you an entrance to all of the areas, the Remnant, the Mithril Deposits, the Jungle, and the Goblin Holdout. This allows you to pretty much a lot easily find the areas you need to go to. For example, the Remnant, you need to find the Lost City. The Goblin Holdout, you need to find the Goblin Queen's Den. To get into the Goblin Queen's Den, though, you need to first find the Goblin King, which will spawn randomly in the area around the Goblin Queen's den. The Goblin King will ask you for 3 Goblin Eggs of any type. Any type of Goblin Egg works. Preferably, you should probably use the cheapest one, because it's easier if you just buy them from the auction house. For 9k, you can get it. It'll give you a potion effect called the King's Stench, which allows you to get into the Goblin Queen's Den. Once you do that, you can claim the crystal. The jungle, as we covered earlier, you need a key. You can then do the temple, and then once you're done with the temple, you'll gain a key. The temple is a series of parkour jumps that if you fail, you have to restart. You do have to get a new key. The Mithril Deposits are, like I said, you do a series of metal detecting. Once you have 4 different unique tools, you return them to their dwarves, and they will allow you to get the Jade Crystal. Next is the Remnant. The Remnant has a city, the Remnant City. It's called the Lost City. And in that Lost City, you are able to grind for, well, you can actually get them from any automaton. You grind the automaton parts. There is 7 different parts. Let's see if I can find one. Yep. Synthetic heart, crystals. There is only 1 left remaining. This happens to be one of the more precarious ones to get. You must venture down into the magma fields, which will slowly encompass heat. I recommend at least getting a heat armor set. And you need to find the spawning place of Baal. Or Baal. Once you are able to defeat Baal with a series of players, you can first of all get the Baal Pet, which is a rare drop. And that allows you to get permanent heat immunity, a fire whip, and all stats are increased while in the magma fields. This is pretty nice because it allows you to not have to worry about anything at all. The next thing with Baal is you'll be able to get the final crystal that you need to complete your crystal hollows, the topaz crystal. Once you have all those crystals, you can return to the crystal nucleus, and you can claim your prize. Some of the prizes include flawed gemstones, up to like mid-tier gemstones. You can get Picopolises. You can get the egg. That's what I'm going to call it because I can't remember its name. You can get the prehistoric egg, which drops any rarity of armadillo. Little thing about the prehistoric egg is when you walk before it hatches, you have to walk a certain amount of blocks to get higher level ones. So if you walk a ton of blocks when you're not doing anything, you can increase your odds of getting a higher tier armadillo. Armadillo pets can be kind of useful. However, the Write Down ability can glitch out quite a bit where it just won't move. Sometimes it's because certain blocks are undestroyable, and other times it just happens for no reason. The other abilities of the armadillo at higher tiers include Rolling Miner. Every up to 30 seconds, your next gemstone drops will be doubled. And then the other one is Mobile Tank. For every 50 defense, gain 1 speed and 1 mining speed. This really isn't useful unless you're in like Goldar armor and mining, which doesn't make any sense. This doesn't ever make it better than just using a mining armor set. However, that is the only person in the armadillo. There is another pet that is added in this update, with which I barely can get a representation of, which is the Scave pet. It's dropped from a Scave, which is a rarer version of a worm, which is already very rare. You can only encounter them when you're mining naturally yourself. And it has a very rare drop rate. The final pet is the Golden Dragon. The Golden Dragon it's overpriced. Very overpriced. The lowest bin right now is 1.1 billion, and it's pretty much trash, to be blunt. The Golden Dragon spawns as an egg at first, and you have to level it up to level 100, where then it finally hatches into having its abilities at all. But the abilities are kind of misleading. First of all, first ability, Golden Powder, adds 50 to 100 strength to all golden weapons. Golden weapons used to be a lot better than they are now, but most massive weapons right now are actually iron swords, so it's kind of pointless, and strength itself has gotten nerfed in the past. Next, we have Shining Scales. For every digit in your gold collection, gain 10 strength and 2 magic find. This is okay for magic find builds. For example, if I have 5 digits, or 50,000 for example, I will gain 50 strength and 10 magic find. That is actually quite a bit. However, potions themselves would be better for magic find, so if you're not going to want to spend 1.5 billion for that. Finally, Dragon's Greed. Gain between 20 and 40% of your magic find as strength. I guess most people have, like, with max potions, max armor, max skills, you're having like 150 max magic find. You're getting, what, less than 75 strength from that? And then Legendary Treasure is the only one that's okay, mainly because it doesn't have a theoretical ceiling. Because gain up to 0.2% damage for every million coins in your bank. Now that seems absolutely broken, because everyone's like, well, 10 million is 2%, 100 million, 20%, and then up a bill is 200%. But it's not as OP as some people were thinking. There's people have covered this in a little bit more detail than I have, doing actual tests with a pet, but it's pretty overpriced and needs a buff. Also added with this update are 2 new passive events. Gone with the Wind. This puts a wind current that you can see on your side of your screen in your wind compass, and it boosts your mining speed by 600%, or actually 600, not 600%. And this is okay if you're unintentionally mining in the direction of the wind, but you're never going to be intentionally mining in the direction of the wind, because you're going to be mining randomly. You're mining gemstones that you find. The second one is a lot more useful. Better Together. This perk, or passive event, allows you to get more mining speed and mining fortune, and a lot of different buffs when you're mining together with people. This scales to, I believe, independently, just like anything, as many players as you have. It just buffs your stats. And then it's pretty much like Legion or another enchant like that, where you get buffs depending on the players nearby you. So that is probably the best new pass event. There's also some other events here, like double powder is still a thing. Another thing to be covered is just normal mining. This is the only mining update where you can actually strip mine. You can just generally go mining in a line. When you do this, you can find chests. These chests can have a various amount of different things in them. They also depend which area you're in. For example, the jungle, you can find sludge juice. Or the automaton area in the remnant, you can find automaton parts. In the goblin holdout, you can find goblin eggs. And then in the mithril deposits, you just find treasurite. So that's pretty much the entirety of the update. I hope this update, everything made this a little bit less confusing.